Okay, so here is DRCongo, the pre-production digital sample, so not as good quality as we finally want. I'm going to show you the game called the Ragnar game, which is the all singing, all dancing full rules version. Unusually though, we're going to play it with just one player. The game isn't played with one player, it's 2 to 4, but this is the quickest way to show you as many rules as possible in about 10 minutes. So let's kick off. Start with the overture. It only happens at the start of the game. Move the marker on. And we're going to use the passport here. Gives a player a start position on the map. So our industrialist here starts the game with $11,000. And he's going to have to establish his position initially in Kasai Occidental. And he has to build an industry there. So he's going to build that mineral industry there. But before he does, he has to deal with the insurgent. And the insurgents are a menace to everything you do in the game. And they must be suppressed, at least suppressed, before you can do anything. So that costs $1,000 to suppress it with one peacekeeper. And he's going to place 2. That's the maximum he can place in that area. Other players could join him if they so wished. So it pays us $2,000, and that allows him now to be able to build that mineral platform. It's been suppressed. He's not going to attack. Leave it as it is. The mineral costs him $3,000, so a lot of money already gone from his supply there. So now we're going to move on to the elect ministers. There are 3 ministers in the game. The defence minister, who places government peacekeepers. The interior minister uses government money to build government industries and government transports and to develop government cities. The finance minister allows the player to adjust these markers on the international market there. So normally the highest bidder will choose one of the ministers and so forth in an auction. However, our player, we're going to allow him to use all 3 ministers to show you the game, and they're going to use them in actions 2, 3 and 4. It'll cost him though $2,000 for the privilege of that. Pay that. So it's running a bit short of money already. Now we move on to this next phase here, resource dice roll. And we're going to move these markers. 1 or 2, they'll move up 1. 3 or 4, they'll move up 2. 5 or 6, move up 3. They're going to move up 2. 1, 2, 2. There we go. The next part of that is we look at the support cards. So these come into the Ragnar game. We'll give it a little bit of extra benefits in the game. Air support. After you have rolled the dice, add +2 to the combat total in that province. So helpful for attacking. Stock exchange. Raise or lower 2 resource markers on the international market by 1 box each. Useful for selling things. And transport bonus. Collect $2,000 for each of your boats on the map. So a good way of generating some extra money. A player can take 1 of those during the phase cycle. They get replaced, so everybody always gets a choice of 3. Now on to the first action. I'll turn over the action card. Have a look at this. Equateur, that receives a major 6 insurgent this time. Change that. Congo and Kasai Occidental both already have white minor 4 insurgents in there, so they're still the same. We're not playing the government this time, but the defence minister could position 2 peacekeepers. No money was collected by the interior minister, and our finance minister could have moved 1 of the markers up or down 1. So, what is our player going to do? Well, he's decided he's going to develop a position in Bandundu province here. So he's going to place a peacekeeper there, cost him $1,000. Can't do anything till he's placed that. And I'll spend another $1,000 to build that crops there. That's on a double industry space, so that will produce 2 resources when it produces. The government has no money. The government has a turn each time, and that's where the interior minister does the spending of the government money. On to the next action phase. We now have a and now Kasai Occidental, where we are, has suddenly gone to become a major 6 insurgent. Now that is much more difficult for us. The government collects $1,000, put it on the card, and the finance minister can adjust the mineral platform. Now we're going to play the finance minister this time. Turn over the card just to show we used that, and it can move that at 1 because we're going to try and get this good value out of our mineral platform there. So before we go any further, we have to deal with this Major 6 insurgent. Now the 6 gives you a clue, it's worth 6, and we get 1, 2 on our dice to try and beat 6. So we'll do a good dice roll here. Oh, well that achieves that, that's good, that's a 7. So that allows us to remove the Major insurgent. Had we lost that, we would have lost a peacekeeper. Now, because this is in a diamond province, a very, very good thing happens. We get 1 diamond to the other player. And that is worth $500, or can be retained till the game end to get extra medals. Now, we also get a medal for defeating a Major 6 insurgent. Whenever you defeat a Major 6, you get a medal, and medals are the way you win the game. That's the victory points. Moves up the chart. So going quite well for yellow. Now it's his turn, and he's decided this turn to build the hydro platform in that province there. That's going to cost him $2,000 to do that. Very good. The government. Well, the government's not having a turn at the moment, so let's move on to the third action. And the card Sudkivu. That becomes a Major 6 insurgent. We can do that. Kasai Oriental remains as white one. Katanga remains as white. We are taking off government peacekeepers this time. Just 1 would come off. And the government is collecting $2,000. Oh, that's rather nice. I think we'll be using that this time. So the finance minister, we're not playing that. So the yellow player this turn is going to develop trying to build a city in Bandundu. It costs $2,000 to develop a 1-point city, but as you may have noticed, we've now run out of money. However, money is available still. By moving our medal marker back, we can get $1,000 and another $1,000, which is $2,000, which is what we need to develop our city. We could take a chance and try and kill the peacekeeper, the insurgent, sorry, in which case we would get the value of the industry that we're going to turn over to develop the city. That would have given us another $500, but I think it's too chancy, so we're just going to turn that over, pay our $2,000 and develop our city there. That gives a much stronger position. Let's see, that gives us also 1 medal for building a city, and we move the city development marker along 1. When this marker meets the target, the game will be drawing to a conclusion. The government has now got a turn, and the government is going to develop and build a boat. And it's going to build a boat here on the border between the 2 provinces, which will allow us to move our minerals downstream and out through this area here. It costs $2,000 to build that boat, and when you are the Interior Minister, you're allowed to take a little bit of a backhander from the government to the value of 50% of however much you spent. That's $1,000, so that's very handy money going to the yellow player there. Okay, on to the 4th action. What's happening this time? Kasai Oriental next door. Let's get in the black. Major 6 insurgent. Bandundu retains its white one. Equateur is white as well, so that doesn't really affect us. 1 government peacekeeper. Now, we haven't played the defence minister yet, so we're going to use him now. And what we're going to do with him, we're going to place that down in DRCongo there. The reason being that if we didn't have this insurgent suppressed, then we wouldn't be able to get our resources out through this province. We need to always deal with those insurgents. Government gets no more money, and we're not adjusting the hydro anyway. Right, so we've got to the 4th phase there. So at this point, if you haven't already produced some resources, you better get on and produce some, because you're running out of time to make some money. So to produce resources, you simply flip that over, and that is a single production space, so just get one mineral on there, and that is a single hydro space, so we get one hydro onto there. The government, we're not playing the government, so that moves us on to, we've been buzzing down here, resource sales. So at this point, any resources on the map are able to be sold to the international market, or if need be to the local market. You're going to take that minerals resource, move it down the river, out through this broad arrow, and it comes onto the international market. Now, because it's come out of the broad arrow, it's going to get the higher price in this box. Had it gone out on one of these narrow arrows at the reverse of the board, you only get the lower price, half the value. So very important mechanic in the game is to try and get your oil and your minerals and your crops out on this arrow here. 2,600, quite a good sum of money. He's now going to sell his hydro, which sells in a totally different way. That is going to sell to a city. Because it's got a city built in its own province, it must sell to its own province first. So it's going to sell to this city here. It's only a one-pointer. So because it's only a one-pointer, it only gets a lower price on the market. So flip that over to show it's been sold to. The hydro goes onto the box there, and it's going to get $800 for that. Now in subsequent selling of resources, the next player would put his resources in the boxes below, so the price drops down. So when you sell your resources, it's very important. You could sell your resources during the actions earlier on if need be. So that concludes that part of the game, and we're now on to the reset. So I'll take you through that very quickly. We check how many cities have been built. So we've got 4 built, started with a 3-point of the government. That makes a 4th. And this means now we look at check the arrows here, and this gives us 3 moves back on the target. So those two will gradually get together towards the end of the game. Next thing we do is we can adjust the resource markers here. This one is going to move down to that box there. Take that one off. So it moves to the first clear box where there are no more resource markers, and those two would stay as they are. We then flip over all our industries and any cities that have been flipped, so that we start the next cycle all ready to go again. We take out the cards, or we never use the support card, never mind. Put those there, and any ministers are returned to the minister deck here. New support cards are placed face down, ready for next turn. The insurgents stay exactly as they are. The phase marker moves back to the beginning over here. We have to do these action cards, so these just sit on top. There are 10 action cards in all, so 2 always don't come out in the first 2 cycles. You then reshuffle, but we're all ready to go with those again. Okay, so that brings us in the reset, and we then start all over again. Now what we're going to do this time though, we're going to draw a conclusion at this point and wait until I get to the end of the game. I'm just going to roll it on a little bit, and then I'll take you through the finale and the scoring. Okay, so we've rolled the game on now, reached the end. The city development marker has reached the target, so those 2 can come off. And we're going to do a count up of the points for the other player. So first of all, we can work out his value for cities. Each 1-point city is worth another medal. That's 1 for that. Each 2-point city is worth another 3 medals. 1, 2, 3. And each 3-point city is worth another 6 medals. He now adds up also each of his industries and transports. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That makes it 29. Each $3,000 is worth another medal. And this player has got just under 18,000, so it's actually got 17,600, so that is 5 medals. 1, flip this over to the 30 plus side, 2, 3, 4, 5. And finally there is a calculation for the diamonds at the end. The player with the most diamonds gets 3 more medals, and as yellow is the only player, he gets 3 more medals. 1, 2, 3. And that may well be a winning score, 37, quite a good score. So I hope you've enjoyed looking at the game, and hopefully you'll get a chance to try the game yourselves at some point in the near future. Thank you.